The boy is a well-behaved and obedient child in his parents' eyes during the day. But at night, he transforms into a ruthless demon child. And he uses an old camera to record the most disturbing real evidence of crimes. Although the footage is crude, it is suffocatingly real, and the three people tightly bound to crosses in front of him are none other than the boy's closest family members. The moment the fire sweeps over them, piercing screams tear through the silent night sky. The boy not only shows no emotion, but instead lets out a long-suppressed cry. This is the movie we are going to talk about today. The story begins with a move. Courtney is the female protagonist. To escape the harassment of her ex-husband, who is addicted to domestic violence, she moves alone with her two young sons into a haunted house abandoned by a friend years ago. This place is far from the city's hustle and bustle, almost completely isolated, and the murder that happened in the nearby church is still talked about today. She believes she can finally escape her ex-husband's harassment, unaware that an even more terrifying abyss awaits them. On the night they move in, her younger son, Dylan, has a nightmare. In the dream, he witnesses his entire family tied to wooden stakes and perishes. This extremely thrilling and stimulating scene immediately scares Dylan awake from his dream. But before he can recover, suddenly a ghost appears behind him. Strangely, when he looks again, there is nothing. Overly frightened Dylan quickly goes to the nearby church, preparing to tell his mother, who is tidying up, about this matter. The next second, he discovers in horror that a large patch of blood appears on the ground. But it seems only he can see it. This moment, Dylan knows better than anyone that even if he tells her, his mother will not believe and will only think it is his own hallucination. In order not to add extra pressure to his mother, he ultimately chooses to conceal it. As time passes, strange things become more and more numerous. Dylan is not only tormented by the same nightmare every night. He also makes several new friends. One day, one of the boys named Milo finds him. He says he wants to show him something good, and that if he watches it, he will not have nightmares anymore. Dylan agrees without thinking, and so, Dylan follows him all the way to a basement. Then Milo opens a mysterious wooden box in front of him. A vintage projector suddenly appears before his eyes. Next, Milo skillfully assembles it. Then, in the darkness, a boy holding a videotape walks towards them, and on it are the 4 big words, fishing trip. Soon, with Milo's help, they play the video. At first, the screen shows a family of 4 fishing in the wild. This leisurely life makes anyone who sees it feel envious. But unexpectedly, by night, the scene suddenly changes as the family is blindfolded and tied by the pond. A huge crocodile lurks nearby, eyeing them menacingly. One can imagine how tragic their end will be. After witnessing the family fell by the crocodile, the younger boy is too scared to watch. However, Milo threatens him, stating that only brave children can join them. The younger boy immediately runs out of the basement without looking back. After this, Milo appears every night, often taking him to watch various videotapes. The killing methods in these videotapes are more brutal than in previous ones. Moreover, each tape has one commonality: children personally kill their families. The logic of the demon's curse is completely unveiled here. He does not kill directly, instead, he uses mind control and temptation to create estrangement between children and their families. Then, through violent videotapes, he numbs their conscience and induces them to personally kill their families. He finally completely loses his humanity and forever becomes the devil's puppet. As for why the curse appears here, the entire cause traces back to the murder of the Oswald family in the previous film. At that time, only Officer X-Deputy knows the truth about their family's tragic death. However, due to insufficient evidence, no one believes him. To prevent the tragedy from happening again, Ex-Deputy directly sets fire to the haunted house. However, he is investigated, charged, and loses his job because of it. Dylan's nightly dreams and the supernatural events he encounters are enough to show that the curse has not disappeared. Instead, its pattern is broken, and it returns to its origin, which is the house where Courtney's family currently lives. Oswald's death also becomes a thorn in Ex-Deputy's side. These years, he has been investigating the truth behind the curse. So the next day, he embarks on a journey. preparing to destroy these cursed houses one by one. But when he arrives at the scene of the first haunted house, he never expects that someone is living there. This instantly breaks his original plan. After Zach sees his arrival, he immediately calls his mother. The two immediately have a misunderstanding upon meeting. Courtney mistakes him for a private detective hired by Clint to deal with her. Fortunately, the misunderstanding is resolved after ex-deputy's patient explanation. Courtney then invites him into the room to apologize for her recklessness. Ex-deputy does not take it to heart and then explains his purpose for coming. But now, plans change unexpectedly. Ex-deputy takes out photos for her to confirm if she has encountered the supernatural events shown them, or if anything strange has happened at home recently. After receiving Courtney's denial, the uneasy ex-deputy still decides to personally visit the crime scene for an observation. Seeing this, Courtney does not refuse. Under her lead, the two quickly arrive at the church where a family of 4 met tragedy years ago. To avoid alarming Courtney, ex-deputy finds a random excuse to send her away. Only he remains alone in the vast church. Without time to hesitate, he takes out the photos to compare them carefully. The photos show the tragic scene of 4 people nailed to the floor. The second photo shows an oil can-shaped object. It is said that when the police found the victims, each had one placed on their stomach. As ex-deputy focuses on comparing, a loud bang enters his ears. This immediately makes ex-deputy involuntarily nervous. Courtney has already left. He wonders if there is anyone else here besides him. Driven by curiosity, ex-deputy cautiously begins to search every corner of the church. Soon, he finds a jar in a corridor. Something inside seems to be moving. He suppresses his fear, picks up a stone from the ground, and forcefully smashes it towards the jar. A Hajime rat appears. Ex-deputy secretly breathes a sigh of relief. But as he approaches the jar, just as he prepares to take a photo, a strange sound of footsteps echoes behind him. Hajime. Hajime. This terrifying scene instantly startles ex-deputy, sending him flying backward. In a panic, he turns on his phone's flashlight and shines it forward. Strangely, he finds nothing, but this is the most terrifying part. The previous scene is definitely not his imagination. Just then, ex-deputy notices that the mysterious symbols he previously investigated have appeared on the wall behind him. Considering this series of strange events, ex-deputy realizes he has truly come to the place. After leaving the church, ex-deputy, who originally intended to go back, he happens to see Dylan spacing out alone, so he walks over to chat with him. Indeed, he learns from their conversation that Dylan has been frequently plagued by nightmares since moving in. So this makes him even more certain that the demon has targeted Courtney's family. At this moment, the appearance of a car interrupts ex-deputy's thoughts. The person who arrives is none other than Courtney's ex-husband. Upon seeing his arrival, Courtney immediately rushes over to slap him. Dylan is so scared that he wets his pants on the spot. It seems the man has caused them considerable harm. His purpose for coming this time is also very clear. He wants to take away his 2 sons. Furthermore, he specifically bribes the local police. Seeing this, Courtney immediately tells her sons to go back to their room. However, facing the sheriff's aggressive pressure alone, she feels powerless. Fortunately, ex-deputy intervenes in time at the critical moment. He immediately sees through the other party's trick, which is clearly to take advantage of Courtney's lack of legal knowledge. So he lays out the regulations and laws one by one. A few words instantly leave the sheriff speechless. Having no choice, he can only give up. He does not want to lose his job because of a momentary act of corruption. Seeing his plan fall through, Clint also understands that he cannot take the children today. Before leaving, he threatens Courtney, stating he will definitely return. Hearing this, Courtney immediately panics. At this moment, she only wants to take her son and find another secluded place. At the same time, her actions also startle ex-deputy. The demon is already targeting their family. They leave the haunted house now. It means they are very likely to trigger the next stage of the curse. So ex-deputy quickly stops Courtney, insisting she must stay. However, he does not dare to directly tell Courtney the truth about the curse. One reason is he fears Courtney will be scared. And the second is because he himself finds it a bit absurd. Ultimately, he advises Courtney from a legal standpoint, explaining that leaving now constitutes evasion, and then Clint will have a reason to fight for custody of the child next time. Courtney reluctantly agrees to stay after hearing this. To express her gratitude to ex-deputy, Courtney invites ex-deputy to dinner and also asks for advice on future custody issues. Ex-deputy does not refuse. After dinner, the uneasy ex-deputy chooses to stay and look after the mother and son. However, living in the haunted house, he remains restless and sleepless. He accidentally breaks the cup on the table. This makes him instantly energized. So he turns and goes to the living room. He starts studying the haunted house files. It turns out he does not know until he looks. He gets a fright when he sees it. On one of the photos, a blurry figure is hidden. Ex-deputy immediately takes out a magnifying glass to examine it closely. An intense moment approaches. At the same time, strange things are happening at home. As if sensing ex-deputy's small actions, Milo once again finds the insomniac Dylan. He still brings him to the basement to continue watching the death footage. Watching the tragic plight of the family and the footage, Dylan's heart is stirred. He chooses to leave immediately without finishing the video. However, this time Milo does not stop him. The moment he leaves, his younger brother Zach's figure appears nearby, watching him. Soon after, he comes to the basement. It turns out he has known about the unusual things here for a long time. From the very beginning, these ghosts also found him. The two brothers have completely different personalities. If Dylan is weak, timid, and easily manipulated, then Zach is irritable, impulsive, and craving attention. Regarding Milo's neglect, he feels full of jealousy. Milo's attitude towards him is very direct. He states that he is not brave enough, and only Dylan can join them. This differential treatment undoubtedly plants a seed of ambition in his heart. It also sets the stage for future plot developments. The next morning, ex-deputy's friend has new findings from the haunted house investigation, so he plans to drive back. Before leaving, he specifically tells Courtney not to leave the house. Seeing his seriousness, Courtney agrees. Unexpectedly, as soon as he leaves, strange things immediately begin to happen. To prove he is stronger than his younger brother, Zach assaults his younger brother while Courtney is not looking. He also forces Dylan to admit his weakness. He only does this to prove to the ghosts that he is worthy of joining them. That night, Zach gets his wish. He is invited by Milo to watch a video. By the time his younger brother realizes something is wrong, it is too late. He goes to the basement, wanting to stop Zach. As a result, Zach slaps him to the ground in front of everyone. At this moment, Zach refuses to listen at all. In addition, he has been ignored by his mother for a long time, and his father commits domestic violence. The resentment in his heart has already accumulated to its peak. Milo approaches and threatens Dylan, telling him not to meddle. Otherwise, he will kill his entire family. What is even worse is that the next day, Clint shows up at her door and brings all the necessary paperwork. Courtney only has two options. Either she gets taken into custody by the police or she takes her son and goes home with Clint. With no other choice, Courtney eventually compromises, completely disregarding ex-deputy's warnings. Little does she know, a crisis is about to unfold. At the same time, in a different location, ex-deputy arrives at his friend's house. His investigation reveals that, at the scene of every murder, an old radio appears. From the 1970s until now, every so often, all radio enthusiasts mysteriously receive an audio clip and a sequence of numbers. FTER his decryption. He discovers these are coordinates that perfectly match the locations of preview murder houses. Furthermore, children's voices can be heard within the audio. Considering the circumstances of the victims in the murder houses, they share three common characteristics. The entire family is killed after moving. Children go missing, and there is a portrait-like image of some kind. This pattern represents a demon named Bughul. According to ancient texts, he is an evil spirit who specializes in luring children's souls by having them kill their families with their own hands to complete his ritual, and then abducting the children's souls into his world to enslave them forever. It is exactly like ex-deputy's previous conjecture. Thinking that the demon is currently in Courtney's home, ex-deputy always has a bad feeling. What he can do now is to stop Courtney from leaving the house. However, when he rushes back, he is still one step too late. The worst thing eventually happens. There is no time to hesitate. He immediately arrives at Clint's home based on previously investigated information. Then he tells him that disaster is now imminent. But Clint mistakes his words for a threat. Without waiting for ex-deputy to explain, Clint immediately assaults him. Ex-deputy knows that no matter what he says now, the other person will not listen. Only when danger fully arrives will he believe him. Thus, the next day arrives in the blink of an eye. All the ghosts appear in the cornfield. Zach stands next to them and begins to set up the video camera, filming a happy family scene. Only Dylan knows what happens next, so he secretly sends a distress message to ex-deputy. Sure enough, when night falls, the scene from Dylan's dream becomes reality. The only difference is that the protagonist changes from him to Zach. Next, he records his work with the video camera. He takes out a lighter and, without hesitation, ignites the gasoline poured beforehand. Soon, the flames spread to the pillar where Clint is. He watches Clint burn in the fire, letting out a mournful wail. A satisfied smile appears on Zach's face. Not until Clint is completely still does he move the camera away. He prepares to light the second fuse. At this critical moment, ex-deputy arrives just in time by car. He directly crashes into Zach, sending him flying. Then he rescues Courtney and Dylan from above. Before he can leave with the two, Zach blocks their path with a sickle. Despite Courtney's heartbreaking cries, she tries to wake his consciousness. But at this moment, Zach is completely controlled. He has only one thought in his mind: to kill his family and complete his work. Seeing this, ex-deputy pulls them and runs. Zach, however, chases closely behind. Just like this, the group stages a cat and mouse game. Because ex-deputy is not very familiar with the geography, he is soon blocked by Zach ahead of them. Then, while ex-deputy is unprepared, he stabs him. Fortunately, at the brink of death, the sickle gets stuck in ex-deputy, and they narrowly escape into TH house. Then they quickly lock Zach outside the door. But ex-deputy knows the door cannot hold him for too long. He certainly will not give up without killing his family. So he tells Courtney to take Dylan and hide in the bathroom first. He himself goes out to distract him. However, what he does not know is that he faces not just Zach alone, but also the ghosts of those vanished children from the past. They quickly discover the isolated ex-deputy. They easily subdue him with a table. Then they block Courtney and her son who are trying to escape, not letting them leave. As the room descends into chaos, Courtney curls up on the ground, terrified. Not long after protecting Dylan, Zach walks towards them, carrying the camcorder, preparing to take his family's lives to complete his work. At the critical moment, ex-deputy breaks free and immediately smashes the camcorder in Zach's hand. He instantly feels as if he has lost his backbone. After confirming the camcorder on the ground is completely destroyed, he starts frantically running to the basement, hoping to find another camcorder from the box. However, besides some tapes, there is nothing else. But the moment he closes the box, the ghosts suddenly appear before him. They tell Zach that the camcorder is their medium. Now the demon is very angry. Not only is he doomed, but they will also disappear forever. As soon as the words fall, Milo suddenly feels a deep fear. Behind Zach, a figure appears unnoticed. To be precise, it is the demon Bughoul. Immediately after, a terrifying scene unfolds. Zach's body begins to petrify and crumble at a visible speed. As the scene changes, he appears in the video. Courtney arrives too late. The video containing Zach burns in the flames, turning to ash and disappearing. Witnessing this scene, Courtney is devastated. She desperately tries to rush into the fire to save his son. The ex-deputy nearby immediately stops her, telling her that Zach is already dead and the priority now is to leave. And so, the three people escape from inside while the fire is not big. The film ends here. He previous film relies on attic exploration and sudden ghost appearances for direct scares. Then Th1 infiltrates horror into the details of everyday life. The director does not look for a new explorer's perspective, instead. He focuses the camera on the most vulnerable group of victims. It gives people a suffocating feeling of having nowhere to escape.